Hello and welcome back. In this video, we're going to learn how to trigger or how to deploy our DSL jobs whenever we push changes to our Git repository. So remember that in order to trigger a job from Git, we need to create a Git hook. So let's go ahead and create a new Git hook. Let's log in inside of the Git server container. And if you remember the path, that's like var, opt, gitlab, git, data, repositories, Jenkins, and now we're going to go to the DSL jobs.git that we created. So remember that in here we need to create a custom hooks directory. So let's do custom hooks, enter, and we need to create the post receive file. So we're gonna copy that file from the Maven repository, custom hooks, post receive file, and we're gonna copy that in the custom hooks directory that we created. So if we do an ls now and we go to the custom hooks directory, you're going to find out the post receive file in here. So let's modify that, and remember that the only one thing that we need to change here is the URL for the job that we want to trigger. In this case, we want that at any time that someone pushes to our DSL project, we want to trigger the seed job. And if we go to the Jenkins dashboard and we look for the seed job, remember that the name or the URL for this is job DSL. So let's copy this and we're gonna paste that in here. So cool. So we're saying that whenever someone pushes to the master branch, we want to trigger the seed job, which is the job DSL. Cool. So let's go outside of here. Let's go one level back and let's change the owner of this folder because this is the root and it should be Git. So let's do change owner git :git custom hooks recursively, hit enter. If you do an ll, you can see here that now the owner is correct. So let's go outside of this container. Let me clean the screen. And okay, we already created our Git hook. So now when we push to the master branch, that Git hook is going to call the seed job. Nice. So the second thing that we need to do is to configure our DSL seed job, because remember that if our Git hook is going to call this job, then this job should download the new code. So let's go to the source code management inside of the seed job. Let's go ahead and click on Git and let's define the URL for the repository that we want to download when this job gets triggered. So let's go to our GitLab and let's look for the URL of this. So this is the URL. Let's copy this. Let's paste that in here. Remember in here, this is internal. So we need to use the Git name and the port 80, and this should end in that Git. Remember that in this case, we need to define the credentials. So let's pick up these credentials and now you have no errors. So now, once you download this code, remember that the file that we created is called jobs. So probably we want to build the jobs in the seed job using this file. So let's go down to the seed job configuration. And now we want to say that we don't want to use this anymore. Instead, we want to look for a file in the file system. Remember, whenever we download the code, we're going to find this jobs file in the root of the workspace. So we can reference that file using the name jobs. Because remember, we're going to download this repository, and in this repository, the only file that exists is this, the jobs file. So this is what we're going to say. We say, hey, DSL, please look on the file system for this file, which is called jobs. Because remember that we're going to modify this file, and in here is where we're going to be adding new jobs. Now you are downloading the DSL repository, and in here you are telling DSL to look for the jobs file and build whatever it's inside of that file. So let's save this, and now we need to go to Jenkins, manage Jenkins, and we need to go to the configure global security. And now remember that we modified our seed job, and now that seed job is going to execute the file, the local file that it's been downloaded. So we need to go ahead to this section, and we need to uncheck this because by default DSL doesn't allow you to execute scripts on local files. That's because of security reasons, but if you know what you are doing, then just go ahead and uncheck this. Otherwise, you will always need to be approving everything, and probably you don't want to do that. So let's uncheck this in order to allow DSL to execute the local file that we defined in the configuration of our job. So let's save this. And now I think we are ready. So we're going to go to our repository in our local machine, and we're going to modify the jobs file. And we're going to imagine that we want to create a new job. So I will just take this job as an example. Let's copy that. And we're going to go to the last part of this file, and we're going to enter, and we're going to paste the new job in here. So let's think that this is the configuration for the new job that we are creating. So we want to call this job a little bit weird, so we can differentiate this. Let's call it like get job test hooks or whatever you want, just to make this different. What should happen is that whenever we push these changes to the repository, this job with this configuration should be created, because remember, when we push these changes to the Git repository, what should happen is that the Git hook that we created, it's going to trigger the job DSL, and this job DSL is going to download the new code, and in that new code is this change that you are pushing. So DSL is going to download that new code, and then it's going to look for the jobs file, and it's going to create all of the jobs that are inside of this file. So for now, if we go to the dashboard, you can see that we don't have any Git job created. So let's go ahead and save this new file that we created, or that we actually modified. If you do a git status, you're going to see that this is modified. And if you do git def, you're going to see the differences. And the differences are the new text that we added. So let's go and do a git add jobs, git commit -m, and we're going to say adds a new test git job. And we now are going to do a git push origin master, hit enter, and here the magic should happen. As you can see, this push event triggered our Git hook, and our Git hook is actually calling the job DSL, which is the seed job. So now if we go to the job DSL, and if we look at the executions, you're going to find this last execution. So let's go to the console output. You're going to see that was started by the user Jenkins, and after it's started, it's going to download the DSL repository, and you can see the commit message is the message that we added in here, which is adds a new test Git job. You can find exactly that message, which means that the new version of the file that we uploaded, it's been downloaded, and finally the job DSL is looking for the jobs file, and it's generating the new item, as you can see here, the new item that we actually uploaded to Git. So if we go to the Jenkins dashboard and we look for this Git job test hooks, you're going to find the job in here, and if you go there and you configure that job, you're going to find out all of the configurations, all of the fake configurations that we defined inside of the jobs file. Because if you take a look to your jobs file, you're going to see that this is the fake configuration that we defined in order to test. So you actually created this new job only doing a git push, because Jenkins took all the work and did all the magic for you. So it's pretty important that you understand every single thing that we did, so you can have a clear understanding, and in the future you can create all the things that you want, and you can integrate a lot of things together, like the things that we are doing in here. So I hope that you have learned a lot from these videos. I'll see you in the next lesson.